and welcome to TinyTableGames, and this is episode 13 of 5 Leagues from the Borderlands, as we continue the campaign and just play it all the way through. That's the plan, or until it's either party wipeout, or we take out all 3 of the big bads as assigned by the campaign system that 5 Leagues from the Borderland uses. Thank you for watching. If you saw the last episode, you know that we cleared out a monster lair, which turned out to be quite a bit harder than we expected. One of our followers was badly wounded, but we ended up picking up 2 more followers, weirdly enough, although one of them is currently unarmed. So after we break camp in the morning, we're going to have to head into town, probably Wheat Ridge, to pick up some supplies and deliver a letter, because Wheat Ridge is where you pick up the letter and then could take it down to Glasswater Village, of course. We probably don't need to recruit anybody else, but that'll give us at least 1-2 days to heal up and get some stuff done. And then we're going to go hit the Ruin Within bandit camp, most likely, out there in the woods, and continue our efforts. Again, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, help the channel grow, and let's get to it. So, like I was saying, we are currently down at location 21, which has been scritchered off because we wiped it out. So, rather than go straight to the Ruin Within camp and then up to the Death Knight, we instead are going to slightly detour up here to 9, which is Wheat Ridge, to pick up a letter to take it down to 3, Glasswater Village, which allows us to pick up a gold piece and a adventure point, which we could use. Let's see, and then it'll be probably drop straight down to there to clear that one out. Then the Death Knight, and possibly exploring 25, which is another monster lair. We just haven't explored it long enough to know what it is. Once we do that, it's going to be over here to take out the Faceless Kingdom hideout, and then drop down here for this unexplored location, and just start marching our way along. In anticipation of that mountainous area, though, if you're looking at any of my shorts, you'll see that I created some mountainous tree zones, if you will, which I was pretty pleased with. I think they look nice and mountainy. You can get a lot done with those dollar coasters, I tell you what. All right. So the first things first, though, is we have to do the morning prep. Waking up in camp and seeing what the day holds. That is an 87. And if you hear weird meowing in the background, that's the kitten. Neo is being fussy. Let's see, 87. This life is wearing on you. A random injured character does not recover naturally this turn. Yeah. Well, tough break for our young assistant, because the only person currently injured is Hopeful Henry. So perhaps Hopeful Henry is feeling a little less hopeful today. At least not as hopeful enough to actually heal anything. He's the only injured person, so okay, he just doesn't heal. And that takes us on to paying for things. We will forage so we don't have to pay anybody because we're fairly low on gold, relatively speaking. And our size of our group keeps growing as we keep rescuing people. Because we have 4 followers now and 4 heroes. So that brings us up to an 8 as far as our band goes. So we got a D3 plus 1 in upkeep costs. If we go up again, it'll be a D6. But I do not plan on going up again. All the extra follower does is, since Hopeful Henry's out, we'll just give him the War Spear and the Light Armor to Bane, and we'll just rotate around. And strangely, Vic Vicious recovered fully, if you recall. All right, so our campaign activities, one is to work the land or forage for herbs so we don't have to pay for anything for upkeep, and the next other thing we're going to do is scout. So we're going to go from down here up to there. That's the plan. So, it's getting muddy, isn't it? So from 21 up to 9, got to make a scouting roll, which we can do on a 7+ at this point with Wolf scouting ability. No problem there. Good job, buddy. He may run out of arrows every 5 minutes, but he doesn't get lost very often. And with that, we can make our way to Wheat Ridge, which is going to be great because we can pick up that letter, which will be the first thing we do, and then we can buy some stuff to give our follower a bit more help, since we don't want to keep trading items. So we arrive in Glasswater Village. So we arrive in Wheat Ridge, pick up the letter, sigh a sigh of relief, and see what happens this evening. Since nobody healed up and nobody earned anything, 80 is what the campfire's tale is today. And that is, a friend needs our help. You will receive 1 additional story point for helping if you carry out this contract. All right. Well, it's a random friend, and as it turns out, we have several of them now. The only problem with these friend quests, however, is that if you can't get it done, they're no longer your friend. Friends are kind of jerks that way. But as you may recall, we've got Dale and Chip and Dale, because of course, and Kitty and Tom the Tracker. 1, 2, 3, 4, I guess. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Since we lost the other guy. Since we only usually have 1 or 2 turns to complete it, and we just didn't get there. That's a 5, so we'll just wrap it around. That makes it Kitty, the adventurer, has a quest. Okay, so check on the contract type. 42. Isn't that always the answer? We need to aid a community. Interesting. And the contract source, as far as payment goes, is 21. So we get D3 gold marks and +1 story point plus another story point. So it'll be +2 story points. So how much gold are we going to make? We'll make 3. Excuse me, we'll make 2 because it's a D3. Let's see. To aid the community, the nearest settlement, well, that'd be Wheat Ridge, where we're currently at. The settlement requires 3 ride patrols to be carried out. Oh, that's interesting. That's a thing we haven't done yet. All right. So in addition to getting the experience from doing the ride patrols, we'll get the bonus 2 gold plus 2 story points. Bounce down there, bounce back. Although there's no time limit on that letter delivery, so maybe we'll do the patrols first. But in any case, morning comes, and we are back to the start of the day. First thing, town events table, 81. That is a gift. The local smith gives you a fine standard weapon. Wow, that's fantastic. I guess we will give it to Bane, since that's the person who we were going to go buy a weapon for. And we will give Bane a fine standard mace. Man, they like us here in Wheat Ridge. We'll use one of our activities to help the town guard so we don't have to pay. For our other activity, we definitely don't need to recruit. Because we did pay for everything, and because it's the next day, our depressed follower, Hopeful Henry, heals up another wound, so he's only got 2 more days of being out of action, which means he's going to miss a patrol, but that's how it goes. And I think the other activity is just going to be some hard work, because we need cash again. So you automatically get 1 gold. On a 6+, get 1 additional, thanks to some of the people in the group being good at hard work. So we pick up 2 gold, which is nice. That brings us up to 7 gold pieces. Next phase, which in this case is going to be buying stuff. The trade section, because we're in a decent area. So... that's an interesting question. Do we need to upgrade Wheat Ridge? Because Wheat Ridge is a hamlet. If we upgrade it to a village, we can buy better stuff, which we may need to do. Although if we're going to get a crossbow, we just have to go to town, and the only town is Applewood, so we may end up just going to Applewood first, because I want to pick up a crossbow for Bane. We're in Wheat Ridge, we might as well go to Glasswater Village, drop that letter off, then down to Applewood, so we can actually buy a crossbow. Straight to Applewood. That's today's plan. So going from Wheat Ridge down to Applewood, the big town, we got a 74. And a 74 is attacked while traveling. That's very inconvenient. Using the roadside enemies table, you may continue to your destination afterwards. Alright, well, what's a defensive battle? A defensive battle is when basically they're on one side, you're on the other. This is neutral ground, no figures. Deploy the enemies. The enemy will try to infiltrate, much like we do other times. The objective is to fight off the attackers. You have achieved the objective once half the enemy force has been slain or driven off due to morale failures. At that point, you can continue to hold the field for an extra point, or you can just declare victory, and that's that. That's what we get. Going from Wheat Ridge for the first time down to Applewood, which is a path we haven't taken before. Ambush, which kind of makes sense, really. So, you know, what are you going to do? So let's go figure out from the roadside villains who we are fighting. So, roadside enemy table, let's see what we're fighting. We're fighting 69. And 69 is... What is 69? 69 is Northern Wolves. The wolves of the north are malign and aggressive creatures driven by cruel cunning. In recent years, they've escaped south, driven from their lands by unknown horrors. They are both aware and they have the outflank skill, which actually comes into play for this. Interesting. They can move 6 and charge an extra 3, so they can move up to 9 inches, +1 combat value. They have a +1 for penetrating toughness, but not armor, and they are toughness of 4 themselves, with 1 point of real thick fur armor. Huh. Okay. And how many of them will we be facing? It's a +1. We'll be facing 5 of them. Oh, that's not so terrible. Okay, so here's the setup. On the left-hand side here, we have the warband with Claus and Wolf, George St. Clair, Ivan, Bane, our newest member, Lucky, and Vic Vicious. Hopeful Henry's out for a couple more turns. And they are on their way down to Applewood from Wheat Ridge. And while they're on this path, they are getting ambushed. In this case, they're getting ambushed by, in the book, it says Northern Wolves, but it also says in the book that make the game your own. And so they are being ambushed instead by these friendly little guys from my Squigalanch army. So 5 squigs are hiding, lying in wait for them in various points around the board. We got 1 right here. We got 2 hiding in the woods right there. 1 right here on top of this, and 1 down here. Now, in the rules for the game, it doesn't say the wolves are particularly good jumpers, but squigs are very good jumpers, and so I'm not going to count elevated terrain as any extra spaces for them. They can just glide right over it, just about like they're flying, because they're jumpers. That's what they do. Are squigs in the rulebook? No, they are not. But that's how we're doing it. We're otherwise using the rules of the wolves, which have a move of 6 inches with a 2-inch sprint, +1 combat, toughness 4, armor 1. Squig is in fact back here in these rocks. And he is going to hop his way into these woods right there and remain out of line of sight. And I do not believe Wolf... Oh, it is within 12 inches, but just barely. And it is a blocked line of sight, which gives him a -2 to his roll. He does have scouting, so that gives him a +2, so that kind of cancels out. So if he rolls a 12, and only a 12, will he detect the squigs? Otherwise, they get to keep moving. Nope. Wolf did not detect the squigs. So next squig, who's in the woods right here, is going to hop forward to the edge of the woods, which will still leave them obscured. Because as long as they're on the stand, much like in Warhammer rules, as long as you're on the terrain feature, it counts as obscured even if you're on a piece of the terrain that isn't. He is now 7 inches from Wolf. He is obscured, but he has scouting, so it balances out. So 8+, and they're detected. 8, they are detected, so that will start the combat round. So, rolling initiative. Zooming in on the action a little bit. First up, we got Wolf and Claus, who are going in the early round. Wolf will go first. he is obscured from this tree stand right here. So he's going to step 1, 2 this way, which is as much walking as he can do and still shoot his crossbow. I don't know if he's within 6 inches yet. He is, but the squig is obscured, so that gives him a +1 anyway. So he hits on a 4+. Yeah, and he does. That's pretty cool. He's got 1 point of armor, but Wolf's using his crossbow, so it doesn't matter because it punches through 1 point of armor, and his toughness is 4. So the squig is wounded. And next up, we have Claus, who will take a shot at the same one. He will step up 2 also. He is not within 6, which means he's hitting on a 5 +1 for the obscurement from the wood, so he hits on a 6. That's a 1. And he's out of ammo. Yep. Okay, next up, it is the monster's turn. So, starting off, this wounded one is going to surge forward. Because he's a squig, he gets to ignore terrain, so he's going to be extremely clever, being a squig. And he's going to leap up to here with his 6 inches of movement. And though he is wounded, he will be on elevated terrain above Wolf, which will give him a +1 in the combat. Now the squig already has a +1 for his combat skill, and Wolf is at a combat skill of +0 still because he's never gotten that increase. Fortunately, he has a toughness of 4. So squig has a +2, and he's the aggressor. So let's see how this plays out. 5 to 4, so the squig wins. Let's see. Wolf has 2 points of armor at this point. 1 point of armor, but a shield, so unfortunately that was not helpful. Punches right through the armor, and toughness of 4. So Wolf is wounded, but not out of action. That was a good chomp, for sure. Next squig, also moving up to 6 with no impediments whatsoever. But he can't quite get there, so he's going to have to do his whole leap and bound to the full 8 inches. It is enough to get him down to Claws. He just can't attack this turn, but he did close, so that's significant. Next up, this guy is going to, we'll do this guy because he's going to stay in cover. He's going to bound ahead into these woods right here, taking advantage of his I can move through cover for free because I'm a squig, and that'll give him an advantage if anybody takes a shot at him in the slow phase, which I'm sure they will. He is also counted as in cover as well as being above, so that was a great spot for him to go. He couldn't quite get there. Okay, this squig is similarly going to be clever and try to stay out of the line of fire until the last second, because this is not their first group of adventurers they've ambushed. So he's going to go boing and boing down to here for 8 inches and stay behind the cover. And finally, this squig, he's going to move up to the edge right here because he can't get to anybody either and still stay obscured but closer. So on to the hero's turn. Let's see, we'll start with, who do we start with? Okay, we will start with Lucky, who will shoot with her crossbow at the wounded squig who is about to eat Wolf for breakfast. She hits on a 4+ because she's within 6, but he's still obscured in his terrain. So that's a hit on a 5, and I need a better spot to roll so it's more obvious. Let's see, 1 point of armor. Her crossbow punches right through that because she using a crossbow? I believe she's actually just using a fine bow now because we had to swap the crossbow back. Yep, fine bow. So she has to roll above a 1 to punch through his armor, and she does. So anything but a 1 takes the squig out. And it's a 3. So Lucky draws first blood. Well, technically that squig did. And that's 1 squig down. By the way, squigs don't have morale. Maybe they should, but it seems silly to me that they would. So they don't. So next up we'll go with Ivan, who will take a shot with his bow at that one. I don't think he's within 6. He may need to move up. Nope, he's within 6. He hits on 3+, because that squig is not in cover, but he misses. Bane, our newest member, currently is using her fine mace, has light armor on, and bummed Hopeful Henry's sling. So she will take a slingshot at that squig and move up 2 inches while she does it. So she hits on a 3+. No problem there. Punch through the armor. She needs a 3+ to do it because the sling has a -1 to penetration. And she does. And so toughness check. Whoops, it rolls right out. Try that again. Toughness check. Wow, she takes the squig out with a single sling stone. Huh. Bane is a good name for her, as it turns out. George, who is going to move up. And can you get in between them? No, he can't, but you can pretty much move past your own people. You just can't land on them. So he's going to move up and basically be prepared to take a charge, to use, again, Warhammer terminology. He's not going to use his bow because they're obscured, and he wants to be the one people run into, not either of our rather squishy crossbowmen or fine bowmen. And Vic Vicious there will move 2 inches up, and Ivans is out, and take a shot at the guy in the woods there, or the squig in the woods, which sounds more ominous. So the squig in the woods hits on will be hit on a 6+, because he's a 5, due to his range, +1 for the forest. 4, that's a miss. So nice try from Vic Vicious. And that takes us to the end of the round. There's no morale to speak of. Wow, look at that one. All those ones. 4 ones. A lot of the team is going early this time. Okay. Let's see. What are we going to do? First, we'll have Lucky move 2 inches up, and she will take a shot at the squig in the woods. That is more than 6 inches, I am pretty sure. Yeah, it's more like 7.5. So she's hitting only on a 6, due to the squig being in the woods plus the distance. And that's a 1. Lucky runs out of ammo. Well, it was bound to happen to her sooner or later. Can't be too harsh, I guess. Given the fact that she's done pretty great for everybody else. Okay, next up, Wolf will shuffle up right next to George to make sure he backs him up in hand-to-hand combat if things go poorly. And Wolf will take a shot at this squig over here, who's probably within 6. Yes, he is. He's 5 inches away. So that's hitting on a 4+. There we go. Hit 5, so he hits. Armor check, he punches through 1 point, so there's no need. So straight on to the toughness check. Almost took him out, but didn't. So the squig is wounded. Okay, with Wolf's attempt, well, wounding but not defeating, I suppose Claus will now move up. He has no more ammo, so he's simply going to be a barrier to help George. And finally, George will step up slightly and use his bow, since he has one also, to shoot at the one right there in the woods. Obviously, he'd be hitting on a 3+, +1, makes it a 4 for the obscurement. So hits on a 4+. He does. It is not a crossbow, so he needs to roll a 2+ to get past his natural armor, and he does. And now for the wound check. It's a 1. So he's stunned, but not otherwise wounded. The wounded squig will charge straight over here at Wolf, since he's the one who shot him. The squig has a +1 because he has better combat skill than Wolf does. So 5-3, so Squig wins. Squig bites through his armor, I should say. And toughness check. Squig, even with his -1 from being wounded, takes Wolf out with a big old chomp. All right, well, I don't really have that many story points left, so I don't want to use them for that. So Wolf gets chomped. And this guy is still wounded, so I'll turn him backwards. Next up, the unwounded but stunned Squig will leap right out at George. George has a +2 because he has a +1 combat value, plus he's being backed up by a buddy. The Squig has a +1, so overall George is at a +1. The Squig is the aggressor. George wins. He doesn't have counterattack, so they go straight on to the second attack, with George being the aggressor. 4-4, that's a tie. So that's that. The Squig bounces back 1 inch, boink, puts him right back in the woods. And we're on to the next, which is the only remaining Squig is this guy over here, who I'm pretty sure can leap right through these woods and get to somebody. 6 inches. George is 5 inches away. And so is Claws. Oh, that's tempting either way. All right, 1, 2, 3, he's going for Claws. 4, 5, 6, he's going for George. Claws it is. So with a surprising leap and bound that probably frightens Claws a little bit, the Squig leaps through the trees and lands right next to him, ready to bite. Claws is at a +1 overall because of George's assist, so that makes the roll even. And that's a tie, so Claws is pushed back 1 inch. Whoop. Pushed back 1 inch. And that ends the combat, and the Squig is still in the woods. The Squig is no longer in the woods, he's right next to George. All right, and that takes care of the monster turn. Now we're on to the player's slow turn, or the adventuring group's slow turn. Ivan, I guess, will shuffle forward and use his bow again on the wounded Squig, which is about 5 inches away again. Yep. So hitting on a 3+, as always. He does it. Anything but a 1 for getting past the armor. That's a 1. So plinks off the armor. Next up is Bane, who needs to prove her mettle. So she's going to sprint up here and attack the wounded Squig with her mace. The Squig has a +1. She has a +1 because she's being backed up by Claws at the moment, so it's even Steven. Let's see how she does. 3-2, so she wins. Punching through the armor, anything but a 1. That's a 3, so no problem there. And toughness check. She takes the Squig out. Man, that's 2 Squigs for Bane in this fight. 2 of the 3 Squigs taken by the new follower that they rescued in the dungeon. That is pretty awesome. And last but not least, we got Vic Vicious, who, 1, 2, 3, 4, can't get there. Has a sling, so I guess he'll just step forward 2 so he can still use it and take a shot at that guy. He's going to need a heck of a shot because that is 5 inches away, 5.5 inches away, so he needs a 4+ to hit. Nope, he doesn't get it. But he also doesn't run out of ammo because it's just rocks. You're on to initiative dice. And everybody but one person is going second. And what is probably a surprise to 0 people is George is going to be the one going first since he's already in melee. So he's still at a +1 overall versus the Squig. So it's time to press his advantage and attack. And he does, and it succeeds. Punches through the armor because it's a mace. Toughness check is a 5. Their toughness is 4, so he squishes the squig, leaving but one squig to go, who will resume his attack on claws as he moves forward. Even Stevens for this roll. And it's a tie once again. He pushes claws back. Although actually claws kind of pushes, he pushes over this way, I'd say. And that's it for him. Unfortunately, he lunged right out of the woods. So it's going to be shooting in a barrel, so to speak. So Wolf will go first since he still has an arrow and Claws does not. Hitting on a 3+ this time because the squig is lured out into the open by the tasty. Oh, and that's a hit. I was going to say by the tasty adventurer Claws, but whatever. And he is wounded, but not out of action because he's using a crossbow which punches through it. Next, we'll have Lucky take her shot with a crossbow, also hitting on a 3+. Does so. Wound check. Oh, except she's not using a crossbow, so that's her armor check, which is a 6, which passes. Keep forgetting we gave her the fine bow and put Wolf's crossbow back, which is why we need to go buy crossbows. And finally, and mind you, Wolf's the only one who can actually move and shoot a crossbow because they're bulky. Normally, you can't move at all if you're going to use a crossbow. And finally, the toughness check. Lucky takes him out. And so we have only one casualty. Wolf got bitten in half by a squig. So let's see how that turns out. For this scenario, because it is an ambush on the way, the group is allowed to continue after we collect whatever loot we might get from claiming the battlefield, and we will continue on to Applewood. Okay, for experience points, as you know, 1 for surviving the encounter and an additional 1 for holding the field and being left on the table. So almost everybody gets 2 except Wolf, who gets 1. So Wolf's 1 point actually takes him to 15, which is what he needed to get his 3rd advancement. The magic number after that is 22, so he will be advancing. Next up is we have Ivan, who is at 19, so +2, he's at 21, so he's 1 point shy of his 4th advancement. That's pretty good. Good job, buddy. George is now at 26. He does not get his 5th advancement until he gets to 30. The advancement chart keeps on going, though, all the way up to 15+ experience points. So, or excuse me, 140 experience points, and then every 15 after that. So, yeah, nowhere close to that. That's crazy. And Claus is at 17. He'll be going to 19, which it puts him squarely in the "you're not advancing today" category. So we have 1 advancement among the heroes, being Wolf, ironically. That's assuming he lives, but he probably will, because Wolf has, well, he doesn't have any luck, but he does have story points tucked in the group's pocket, which they'll probably use to keep him from dying. And while we're at it, let's do the follower inspirations. So before we settle Wolf's fate, because 3 of our followers, Lucky, Bane, and Vic Vicious, were all participating in the fight. They all get to, and survived and lived to see the end of the table, so to speak, or on the table at the end of the battle. That's how you say that. They all get to do the follower advancement roll. Let's see if Lucky becomes inspired. No, she does not. 56, Lucky picks a skill if she doesn't have one, but she does, so she's all set. Next up is Bane. Bane is definitely not motivated. That's an +5. Vic Vicious is a 43, which is also not particularly motivated. And honestly, would you expect otherwise? I certainly would not with a name like that. So, as always, the hero table is a bit more merciful than the follower table. So let's see how it goes. 43 puts him in the light wound category, so that is a D3 that he will be out. So he will be out for 1 round. recovering from his wound. So for those keeping track, 5, 6, 7, 9, that is Wolf's 10th injury in this game. He certainly has more scars than anybody else, but he does live, which means he does get to do his advancement roll. So that's nice. So let's skip forward to that. Okay. Non-mystic character advancement subtable. Now we're talking. That was a weird spin. 10. And 10 is a speed increase or a skill. Wow. You know what? We're going to keep giving him speed. So he will be a, whoops, wrong eraser. His base speed is now 6 inches. He literally runs like a wolf, which is kind of ironic, all things. The real question, though, is he hungry like a wolf? Anyway, please don't groan so loud I can hear you from here. Regardless, let us now move on. Okay, we held the field, which is why we get a loot roll at all, because otherwise it's just squigs in the forest. And we know for a fact when squigs fall, they do make noise. So our loot table roll is a 71, which is a consumable. Hopefully it's not roast squig. Although, I mean, that would be kind of funny. Let's see, consumables table has about a bazillion entries in it compared to most of the other ones. So let's see. 42. Getting a lot of lately. Misty water flower. 2 of them. Misty flowered watered memories. A character that has become a casualty due to a poison attack or similar. Recovers without needing to roll on the post-battle injury table. Interesting. The herb has no effect in battle. All right. That's a new one. Hopefully we don't run into too many poisonous things in the near future, now that I've said that. And the group can now finish its trip from Wheat Ridge down to Applewood. It's too late at the end of the day to do anything else but just camp and get news and high-five each other. So we will do that, including the high-fiving, though there is no table for it. So, end of the day news. Is OT1, which is there is nothing happening. The only thing anybody can talk about is how a bunch of crazy adventurers cut through the woods, ran into a bunch of squigs, fought them off, and got to town. Although people are probably wondering what squigs are too. But you know, that's what happens when you start messing with the multiverse. Okay, and we're on to the start of a brand new day in Applewood, where 66 happens in town, which is a youthful volunteer. You may add a follower to your warband and roll Flash of Insight. If you turn them down, claim an adventure point instead. We will be claiming the adventure point, because the last thing we need is any more hangers-ons, well-wishers, or distant family relations. So that brings us up to 3 adventure points, so thanks for coming by. Now, moving on. The next thing, of course, is Hard Times, aka paying for the bill. We will use one of our campaign activities for taking care of that. The other campaign activity is going straight to hard work to get 1 extra gold, possibly 2 extra gold. Let's see. It is 2 gold, so that's cool. And that brings us up to 9 gold pieces. And on to the healing phase. Since nothing untoward happened this time, old Hopeful Henry has 1 more round out. And Wolf is now fully healed. At this point, he's quick healer, I guess. Yeah, called him Wolverine, I guess. I don't know. Anyway. So, on to buying stuff, which is the whole reason we came to town. If you're in a town, you may roll twice on the rare goods table on page 89 before making your purchase choices. That's the good stuff. That's why we're in town. All right. Twice on the rare goods table. Let's see what's available. Well, that's a big table too. 38. 38 is crafting materials for 8 gold. No thanks. Or Aunt 4. Weapon of their choice. Select any weapon on the common goods list, add 5 to the cost, and give it the fine trait. No thanks. Oh, that's a letdown. There could have been some much better stuff, but so it goes. All right, so anyway, we've got 9 gold pieces. What is it we want to do here? We want to upgrade everybody as much as we can. Let's see. We need an additional suit of armor, or at least light armor, for Hopeful Henry. So light armor is 2. And of course, another set of light armor for Vic Vicious. That's another 2. And we will have to trade in Wolf's fine sword, short sword, and helmet. But we're going to purchase him a bastard sword instead. And the reason we're doing that is because a bastard sword has a +1 against toughness rather than armor, which I think will be a nice combination with the heavy mace. Okay, with the bastard sword purchased, which was the big buy, because you can't buy that anywhere but in a regular town, it was now time to head out of Applewood and up to Glasswater Village to drop that letter off, and then back up here to Wheat Ridge so we can do those 3 patrol quests before we run out of time. So that's the plan. Next step is going to be to travel up to there. Travel table 62. 62 is you see something in the distance and add an unexplored location, and then you can just ignore it and walk on. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to say unexplored location number 27 is right here. As we were leaving town, we saw that. And then we marched up to Glasswater Village by the end of the day, which allows us to deliver that letter that we were on the quest to do for a while now. So we gain +1 adventure point and +1 gold piece, which is great because now we'll be up to 1. So a quick bounce to the end of day checklist as we're hanging out in Glasswater Village again. 75, having successfully delivered the mail. And 75 is an old ruin has become home to strange creatures. Randomly select 1 settlement and place a delve in the same map area. Interesting. Location 5 on our map, which we've got the Nomad Camp, Fort Crane, Glasswater Village, Applewood, and that's about it. Well, and Wheat Ridge, which is I think 9. And we rolled a 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So right there in Wheat Ridge, no wonder they need us to do patrols. Apparently there's a dungeon here too. Dawn comes early in Glasswater Village. And the town roll is 9, which is you may take 1 additional campaign activity this turn. Oh, that's always nice. Okay, well, for 1 campaign activity, we will pay ourselves by working hard. For the second campaign activity, we are going to scout our way back to Wheat Ridge with the 7+, hopefully. Thank you, Wolf. And with our third activity, we are going to work hard and earn some more bucks if George is able to do so. And he doesn't quite get it done. It needs a 6, so we earn 1 gold, and we've successfully scouted our way back to Wheat Ridge. So from Glasswater Village, we can just top straight up to 9, and without having to make a travel roll, which is definitely handy. So there's where we're at. We're in Wheat Ridge once again. Come the morning after we roll the news check, it's time to do those patrol. You can only do 1 per day because it's basically just an automatic fight of some sort, just a patrol fight, which is one we haven't had yet. So that'll be interesting. We've got to do that 3 times, and then we can do the dungeon delve, also right there in Wheat Ridge. And then hopefully Wheat Ridge will be fixed of its issues, because good grief. Heal up. So the only person left to do that is Hopeful Henry, who is so that everybody is fully functional once more. All nice and kitted out, as more so than they were anyway. And that brings us to the end of the day, because there's nothing else to do. No fighting, so nobody advanced or anything. And news in Wheat Ridge, hopefully nothing after all the other stuff that's going on. 21, Community is in need of supplies. Randomly roll it. Next time you show up there, you get 2 adventure points. So, who needs us to run supplies? It is Wheat Ridge, which we can't get, so let's do that again. 6, which is nothing. 3, that's Glasswater Village. Well, that one I believe. So, 2 adventure points when we drop back down there, but we've got a lot of stuff to do up here at 9. Happily, there's no time limit on this drop supplies back at Glasswater, so we'll make a note of that. Well, and there you have it. That's this episode of 5 Leagues from the Borderlands. The group successfully made it back to Wheat Ridge. They've got a lot ahead of them. I didn't realize there was that much work available in Wheat Ridge. Running 3 patrols, delving a dungeon, delivering supplies back to Glasswater Village, then hunting down a Death Knight, wiping out an enemy camp, and exploring a few new locations. So there's a lot that's coming up. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm Ray. This is TinyTableGames. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps the channel grow. And I hope you have a really great day.